Off-Grid News welcomes you to the news that's not fit to print. I'm Rob. I identify as... my pronouns are... That's some stupid... whatever. Who came up with that stuff? Biden said if people in the administration don't treat each other with respect, I will fire them. You stupid SOB. Biden said in a press conference in the Oval Office, but I might point out when I went to Dearborn driving that, was up there. I don't know, man. I think the press thought I was crazy. I enjoyed it so much growing up, and your new EV factory in that Hummer. New poll shows Joe Biden beats out Brussels sprouts for America's least favorite vegetable, Babylon Bee reports. Biden commits to picking a diversity hire for Supreme Court nominee. Some of the nominees are the kids who rubbed his hairs down on his legs to watch them pop back up. Now they're all grown up. Biden said that the African American justice can be just as smart as Americans. The average death toll for people infected with the virus will exceed 1 million soon. One reporter asked how many people died from the virus. A lot of people have died while being infected with the virus, said the CDC. Dr. Fauci is in some hot water. While reading from the teleprompter, he said, 31 rules that all morons have to follow. He was immediately interrupted by a reporter who told him Mormon. He said, I know what it said, but I don't agree. National Guards are being mobilized to combat Omicron too. The winter storm will hit the Northeast with blizzard conditions. Everyone's favorite acid user and radio DJ, Howard Hessman of WKRP in Cincinnati, dies at 81. Rest in peace, Howard. CNN reports it looks like we might have kind of like a food shortage, since most of the shelves across the nation are empty. Biden said, come on, man, it's not that bad. I got food. A Kansas woman was arrested for allegedly leading all-female ISIS battalion. When the FBI director learned of this, he forced the police department to release her because we are no longer fighting ISIS. He said, we're fighting white supremacy. Biden said in his speech, how many times do you see people pulling up at a McDonald's sitting outside during the pandemic so they can do their homework, so they get off their line? Not once. How many times did he see someone doing homework at McDonald's? There's something wrong with that guy. U.S. condemns North Korea after it launched longest range missile since 2017. North Korea said, we're not scared of Biden. We only scared of Trump. You weak. He's strong. Thousands joined protests in Canada against virus vaccine mandates, while fully vaccinated Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is securely locked away in his bunker, recovering from the virus. Didn't another leader lock himself in a bunker when his city was invaded? I believe he ended his own life in that bunker. Any word on how the Prime Minister's doing? To the disappointment of Biden, it looks like World War III will have to be postponed a few weeks until Russia recovers from record numbers of Omicron. Biden's like, come on, man, I need to get my poll numbers up. U.S. pledges to put Russia on the defensive. Like I said last week when I told you it's a good idea to tell your enemies your war plans. That way they can defend against it. Has Russia released its war plans yet? Joe Biden demands the release of Mark Fredericks, U.S. Afghanistan hostage, but said he will not take any action against Afghanistan because it will distract him from picking a fight with Russia and China. Arizona hiker falls 700 feet to his death. His selfie looks amazing. Spotify loses $4 billion after Joe Rogan's fallout, leaving questions. Wait, $3 billion going once, going twice, $2 billion going once, going twice, now $1 billion. Any takers? $1 billion. Well, it looks like another made-up story. I googled it. They'd be bankrupt if they lost that much in a week. A new poll shows 1 in 4, or a quarter of Americans, believe violence against the government is either a definite or probably justified. A similar percentage of liberals and conservatives agreed on this point. Brian Stelter said, "That's not surprising when you think about it. How American history is taught. We begin with the American Revolution against illegitimate government, and so we are, in a sense, taught from grade school that it is at some point in history justifiable to engage in violent protest. However, as you and I know, it's never okay to be violent to the government. Violence to the government would end our democracy and end our way of life. Our government doesn't have the ability to do the things the British were doing to the people before the Revolutionary War." Wasn't his channel that said last week that the voting right bill not passing, that it was war and people need to pick up its guns? The January 6th committee said they have not interviewed President Trump yet because he would not tell the truth. He is a known liar, and we cannot expect him to be any different in the interview. What brainiacs these people are. They have nothing on him, is why they won't interview him. He lies to Congress, then they would have to throw him in jail for lying to Congress. If it were me, and I knew the accused would lie, I could throw him in jail if he lied. That would be the first thing I would do. These people are lying about lying. The UK could see a shortage of CO2 for soft drinks and other products that used a CO2 after a deal expired with the CO2 producer next month. Now wait one gosh darn minute. All we hear about is how much CO2 we Americans produce every day. But we can't seem to find enough to make Pepsi? I mean, heck, as I'm speaking, I'm exhaling CO2. These jokers really do think we're stupid. Hold on just a minute. Breaking news. Donald Trump Jr. is wanted for the crime of the century, with a $1 billion ransom being offered for the capture and conviction of Trump Jr. after he told Trump supporters at a Texas rally that he took his son Donnie to an AR-15 manufacturing company called F1 Firearms so his son, little Donnie, could build an AR-15. The arrest warrant describes Trump Jr. as tall, dark, and stupid. Authorities say if you see Mr. Trump Jr., to not approach him and call the police right away. He is considered dangerous because he and his son have learned how to build an AR-15. This weapon of war could wipe out an entire civilization in a matter of seconds. Only trained personnel are qualified to apprehend this potential mass murderer. When asked what would be done with his son, little Donnie, the FBI said, "It's unfortunate, but once a child gets a taste of building weapons of war, they will do it again. Poor little Donnie will have to be put down. Humanely, of course." Political reports that Biden delivered a booming economy. VP Harris said. Lawrence Jones is set to make his debut as the youngest black solo host of cable news program. CNN's Brian Stelter reports, once again, Fox News is showing its racist tendency for the whole world to see. Fox News has selected Lawrence Jones, the youngest African-American man to host a cable news company, for its 10 p.m. Eastern time slot on Sunday. It's obvious what they're doing. They will give Lawrence Jones Tucker Carlson's talking points each night. We like watching Tucker, only later at night, with an African American at the desk. Scientists have discovered something 4,000 light years away that shouldn't exist, but does. Why does every science.com article I read start with, "It shouldn't exist, but it does"? When are these brainiacs going to learn they don't know as much as they think they do? Maybe they should start each article with, "Something amazing has just been discovered that may lead us to understanding our universe even better." Guess when you think you're God, you don't think you can learn anything more. These geniuses are dumb. To quote Will Smith, "You're the dumbest smart person I know." The headlines that are being covered, in case you forgot: Russia, 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 virus, 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 Trump, 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 January 6th, January 6th, January 6th. Senator Collins said Biden's handling of the Supreme Court vacancy has been clumsy at best. Wait, what? There's no vacancy yet. Breyer only announced he is retiring. He hasn't retired yet. Police are investigating several serious incidents at the Canadian Freedom protest, which include someone carrying a swastika flag and footage of a woman dancing on a tomb of the unknown soldier. The defense ministry said these acts were beyond reprehensible. I guess I don't know what reprehensible means. I thought like A serial killer would be reprehensible, but dancing on a tomb would be like bad judgment. Don't get me wrong, she shouldn't have done it, but man, I think the defense industry is beyond dramatic. The definition of racism has changed to oppression of people of color through systems that privilege white people. Good thing they changed the definition of racism, because that sounds exactly like racism. Just saying. The WHO is investigating the agency's top official for racism. Dr. Tashki Kashi is being investigated for misconduct in the late 2021. He can't be a racist. He's not white. Let's keep the definition clear for us idiots. A new TikTok challenge has put several teens in the hospital when they overdosed on Benadryl. How is it that TikTok is still a thing? Goes from Tide Pods to Benadryl. Can we please get rid of that? Off-Grid News is sad to report the fourth and final season of The Ozarks has been released on Netflix. We will miss the birds and Ruth here in Missouri. We expect the crime rate will go down around here. Now it's over. Birds just cause too many people to die, said one Missouri. New study shows half the virus patients hospitalized in the U.S. wouldn't be there if vaccinated as well as Europe. Also, there wouldn't be as many in there if they stopped counting people with head injuries as infected with the virus. Just in case you forgot, Hillary Clinton. Pretty good chance you'll be hearing that name more and more. Babylon Bee reports Biden puts new White House cat in charge of border crisis while Trump is designing a much, much higher border wall to keep out Biden's migrant flights. Babylon Bee reports the cast of The View threaten to quit if Joe Rogan isn't removed from Spotify, yelling, "It's either us or Rogan," said Whoopi Goldberg. What do people like more than discussing ideas? Celebrity opinions, that's what, said Joy Behar. If you listen to Rogan, you ain't getting none of these ladies every morning, that's for sure. Millions immediately responded to the threat by downloading Rogan's podcast. Inflation for 2021 was 5.8%, the highest since 1981. The inflation is a key indicator that the economy is booming, said the White House. What in the Twilight Zone name is these morons talking about? Do they honestly believe telling me the economy is booming is going to put food on the table? Now that most Americans are realizing that the government failed at the virus containment policies, most of the people that are pointing fingers at Dr. Fauci. Fauci responded by saying, "I work closely with the CDC and followed their guidelines. It's the CDC's fault for not adequately outlining the proper virus response." Former President Trump has called for another violent attack on the Capitol when he called for the biggest protest we have ever had in D.C. and other cities if prosecutors investigating do anything illegal at a rally in Texas. Nancy Pelosi said, "This man just never learns." I'm filing paper for a third impeachment of this scary orange man. Trump says he will pardon January 6 protesters if reelected. Upon the announcement, Nancy Pelosi filed for the fourth impeachment process. She said, "We just can't have Trump undermining democracy by pardoning people that were illegally thrown in jail without a trial." She also said, "I'm removing voting rights for everyone convicted of the January 6th protest and the 53 million Trump voters." So that's all the news that's not fit to print. Please share this with your friends on other social media sites. Click subscribe to get future updates. Thanks for watching.